Now she has sent it. Look at three. Anyway, it's
Hey,
okay.
hi everyone. Hi, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. We are about to help you improve your patient experience with a healthcare CRM. So I'll get right to it. This is a 1 hour session. We're going to be having a discussion with these two lovely ladies for about 40-45 minutes, and post that we're here to address any questions you may have. So with that, let me just introduce our speakers for the day. So we have Karen Hendrickson, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Rabito Clinic Limited. She is also an award-winning businesswoman, philanthropist, and keynote speaker with a track record of success across multiple industries and continents. So lovely to have you here, Karen.
Thank you. I'm happy. I'm delighted to be here.
Lovely, lovely to hear that. We also have our very own Chantel Fraser, who is the Vice President of Africa Sales here at Lead Squared. She is deeply passionate about helping customers transform their sales and marketing through software. So thanks so much, Chantel, for yet again hosting this webinar. Looking forward to learning and hearing from you.
Thank you, Shabani. And Karen, happy Women's Day for yesterday. And
Yes.
Thank you very much for making the time to join us today. So for those of you who have joined today's webinar, Karen is one woman that you need to keep tabs on and follow. Not only is Karen in the top 100 female CEOs in Africa, but she's also radically transformed the healthcare space with her client-centric approach. And that's why I'm so excited to have this conversation with Karen today. And I think the African continent is certainly a richer place having a visionary leader like you here with us, Karen. So, Karen, before we jump into our conversation, just for the audience, would you mind sharing a little bit about Rabito Clinics and what you guys do?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I am delighted and humbled to be the CEO of Rabito Clinic at this wonderful time in history. Rabito Clinic is actually almost 50 years old. It'll be 50 years next year. And we specialize in dermatology or skin cases, as it's commonly referred to in Ghana. But we also do general medicine as well. And we serve just over 80,000 clients a year out of our 24 branches spread across the country. And that makes us unique, not only because of our longevity, but because we are in so many of our regions. In fact, we are in 10 of the 15 regions in Ghana.
Wow. Yeah, and I think
Awesome.
I saw, you guys started in 1974 and it's been an incredible journey. And, so on that note, I mean, Karen, healthcare at a global level has never experienced a time like the one we're going through today. And, the consequences of the pandemic have resulted in a paradigm shift that has really challenged the traditional architecture and functioning of health systems, and it's accelerated the need for setting up innovative ecosystems, that are revamped for health delivery models and scaling capabilities. And in Africa, as the case is everywhere in the world, governments are injecting means into healthcare to address the healthcare crisis and challenges, but those budgets are progressively under unsustainable pressure. And that's, I think, making the shift towards digital technology such a crucial step in redefining that healthcare professional and patient relationship to support this new era of care access for our continent's population. So just taking into account all of this that's happened so quickly, what are your thoughts on the recent trends in the healthcare industry? And are there any initiatives that you're working on that you'd like to share?
Oh, excellent. That's a wonderful question, Chantel. First, let me say that, the healthcare industry has been slowly evolving over the last half century. And if I bring it closer to home, for those of us here at Rabito, when I joined 6 years ago, we didn't even have a computerized system of any kind. So we were seeing
Wow.
all those patients using good old pen and paper. So, but the evolution had started in most other places as far back as 50 years ago. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has only helped the healthcare industry globally to really focus on how critical quality healthcare is to our planet survival. And the pandemic forced the entire world to refocus on the industry, and look at its fragility, its strengths, and its supreme importance to all of our lives. I think it's fair to say before 2019 pandemic, there were, especially the young and healthy ones, felt healthcare is for somebody else's problem. But the pandemic brought things into crystal focus. And it forced both public and private facilities to rethink their entire healthcare delivery systems and adjust to what has now become the new normal. Now, as a non-clinical, and I want to say this up front, I am not a medical doctor. My background is actually in professional management and investments. However, now working in the healthcare space, a non-clinical professional like myself is looking at this dynamic and vibrant field of healthcare. And I truly believe the recent trends are not only long overdue, but will help patients and their caregivers, not just their family caregivers, but their professional caregivers, in ways that we don't even fully understand yet. And that has what has happened. So I'm very happy about the trends, because it is going to help us catch up with industries that have had a 50 to 100-year start.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I mean, I think that's absolutely spot on, and it's exciting to be in this, working in this industry. And if I bring it a little bit closer to home, and from what keeps me busy every day, being in the CRM and the SaaS space, is that we've watched and we've seen, and we can see that all trends are pointing in the direction and saying that the global healthcare CRM market is anticipated to rise at a considerable rate, from 2023 up to 2030. And I mean, you mentioned now, Karen, you're not a clinical, medical doctor, but you have spent a large part of your career in executive roles in the banking industry. So I'm sure you'll agree with me that CRM is not a new concept. It's been used by other industries, and banking's one of them, right? For a long time. And yes, it has evolved, but ultimately CRMs help organizations collect data on their customers. And with a new age CRM, it now does clever stuff with that data. And one simple example is being able to use that data to develop campaigns with the objective of retaining customers. Now, when it comes to patients' experience, this is no small task. It's complex in nature, but you need to start somewhere. And so when people ask me, when should we start? I'm like, you should have started 10 years ago. It's always the best time to start. But, you mentioned you're seeing 80,000, patients in your facilities, but the healthcare industry sees millions and millions of customers each year. And every time a patient is seen, there's so many data points that are being created, from demographical data to health information, medical insurance information, doctor assessment information, and the list can go on. And my point is, back to your pen, the old pen and paper example, is that it's really impossible in our new normal to work with this kind of volume of data manually. And that's
Exactly.
where CRM comes in. So what is CRM for you? I mean, since you've got years of experience, not only in banking, but in healthcare too, uh, why do you think healthcare providers require a CRM, now more than ever?
Okay. Let me first, for those, there may be some people who don't quite know what a CRM is because we
Good
we we,
point.
we abbreviate it so often. So first, let me say for those who may not know that CRM simply stands for Customer Relationship Management. And in its simplest form, it's just I say just euphemistically, but it's just a digital tool for managing and supporting customer relationships across the entire life cycle of the customer. Think about that entire life cycle of the customer. And therein lies the importance of that to the healthcare industry. Because most of our facilities across, we tend to see patients from beginning of life right through, they rarely leave us or leave their primary caregiver unless something really serious has caused them to go elsewhere. But that can span upwards if healthcare facilities are doing their job right to over 60 years. However, let's step back a bit. In my previous career as a private client investment banker, we started using a CRM system as far back as the early 1990s, and it was a game changer. And as we know, many forward thinking institutions have relied on this technology for analyses, for operational and internal collaborations, all with the purpose of understanding their customer better. And if you doubt me, think about airlines, think about telcos, think about large retail stores. They will ask you what seems like very easy information. Why do they want my number, my zip code if you're in the US, etc.? Those are all have been going into their CRM system for decades now. So generally, the healthcare industry has really been behind. They've lagged behind these businesses when it came to taking up CRM technology. But they, as a whole, as we as healthcare providers, are starting to realize that we need that technology, as you've rightly said, Chantel, to so that we can better know our customers, to help produce better reports to correlate specific footfall traffic or to campaigns, to help control their healthcare utilization. For example, identifying and uh, filling in healthcare gaps that the an ordinary person wouldn't pick up just looking at patient folders. So let me break it down for those who may not be fully cognizant of what I am trying to explain. If we look at something like measles and chickenpox, there are vaccines for that now. And for many, and because it's been around for so many years, it's very easy that moms and dads might forget to have their children immunized for against that. So if someone has uh, a system, a CRM system that is tracking the entire sphere of their clients and been able to get the analysis out, they will be able to provide data to the decision makers to say, hey, 60% of our children have not come in for their measles shots or their chickenpox shots. And oh my goodness, school is starting in 2 months or a month. Having a CRM system that is able to not only detect the issue, but then turn around and send out information to the parents, especially if it's personalized. Little Johnny is overdue for his measles shot. Kindly make an appointment and come in and see us. Imagine how you can send that to thousands of patients and actually positively impact the health of the community.
I think we just lost Karen for a bit.
Yeah, I think we just probably lost Karen with some internet connectivity. Let's just give her a moment to reconnect. While we wait, I'll just let you know, if my lights start flickering behind me, I'm not in a disco. It's this thing in South Africa called load shedding. So I'm just apologizing in advance because we're nearing our load shedding schedule. We're so used to it, but when the lights flicker, people are not.
And I will also take the opportunity to let the audience know that the polls are up. Karen's back. I'll leave you to it.
Good. Yes, so the polls are there. I apologize for that. A message came up that said someone else was trying to log in with my credentials. And so it gave me the option to force connect. And we'll talk about cybersecurity. Yes. So anyway, I force connected. But what I was simply saying was that having the ability to be able to use a robust CRM system to be able to notify our clients, or I'll just talk general, any healthcare system that can do that, it really will have a positive impact, not only on the community, but it also engenders the facility to the customer, because the customer might be like, wow, it totally slipped my mind. I had no idea I had lapsed on my child's immunization schedule, or because of other issues that might be happening, or even their own personal health. So I think healthcare facilities that focus on getting a robust CRM system will undoubtedly be ahead of the curve within the healthcare space, but they'll be lagging behind those of the other business sectors that have been on this journey for decades now. I hope that answers your question.
No, it's a great answer, Karen, and I think you've made it really nice and simple to understand. But just to elaborate on what you've said is that it's about being able to do something that's actionable, right? There's no point in having this data that you would have had on an Excel spreadsheet, on a CRM system that you're not able to do anything with. And so that's what new age CRMs do. But on that topic, there's been so many other trends, that we've seen in healthcare too. And one of them is the rise of telemedicine, remote patient monitoring, hospital at home service. Again, the list there's a lot on that list already. And so that brings me to something that's quite an important topic for me right now. And that's the role of CROs, CEOs, and digital transformation teams in healthcare. I really believe they are more important now than ever before, to take the healthcare organization across the line, to get them moving along. And I mean, when we just talk about telemedicine as one example on this list I've mentioned, being on the rise. According to, I think it was Accenture's 2020 digital health survey, they had, I think, around 62% of healthcare consumers that's, put their hand up and said they prefer virtual healthcare options. So this is not something that we can ignore in the healthcare industry. Now, taking into account, how consumers are evolving with digital, if you just look at your role as CEO, and I mean, in our past engagements, Karen, I know that you work exceptionally closely with your CRO. You know, it's an important part of everything you do. But how do you think the responsibilities of CEOs and CROs have changed, you know, in terms of responsibilities over the last couple of years leading us to where we are now?
Wow, that's such an excellent question. But first, let me give you some context and before I dive right into the answer. In late 2017, Rabito actually launched its own telemedicine platform, now called MyCare Mobile. And the reason we did it at the time in 2017 was simply to better serve our clients that were in areas where access to our brick and mortar facilities was very difficult, or there was no specialist in that particular region. Now, at that time, the service was viewed with great skepticism, not only by our own healthcare staff, but also by patients,
I'm
because they were
sure.
like, "You are everywhere. Why?" But we still persisted, and our business slowly started to grow on that side between 2017 to 2019. And then COVID hit. And I can tell you the transformation was huge. It was absolutely huge. And suddenly, everybody wanted to see their doctors via that platform. And the perception that we had been trying to convey, suddenly they got it. Now, but what we know, but the one thing that we know firsthand is that what is of greatest importance to our customers is protection of their data. And that was like, it is the number one question that comes up all the time. So whilst there might be a host of other things that our IT people we're always discussing, the number one thing is cyber security. Nobody wants, the risk that somebody might know about their vaginal itch, or or their chronic bad breath. They want their health information to be kept private. And that
Yes.
was one of the mental barriers that we had to overcome. And it still remains the question that we're asked the most of. But that being said, I feel other areas that we are always looking at to improve and work on include managing our infrastructure. So if you call us at 4 a.m. in the morning, someone will answer. And we've put in call systems to be able to deal with that. But things such as being on top of technology trends, data analytics, consumer engagement, all of those things are very, very important. And in other parts of the world, they may be more receptive to telemedicine. But in Ghana, it took COVID-19 pandemic to change the playing field for us. And even with that, we continue to educate and reassure them that the
Yes.
service they're getting is confidential, and that we are constantly reviewing and updating our systems to make sure that they, as the patient, come first. However, it's an ongoing thing, and I'll tell you how committed we are as an organization to telemedicine and covering the issues that our clients would be concerned about. The ultimate head of our MyCare mobile platform is actually also our chief information technology officer.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, because to us that is really important on so many levels. So he sits on the head, and he makes, of course, he's always researching and looking to see what are the trends, but he makes sure that from our digital space, we are as protected as can be in this digital age for both ourselves and the customer.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. And I guess, taking everything you've just said into account, it makes sense that CROs and digital transformation teams are looking for solutions, that solve one or more of these, let's call it responsibilities, while being able to demonstrate how, these decisions they make not only tick off the compliance boxes, but are able to add value back to the business. So, for us working in with healthcare organizations, I think it's a huge benefit that we're able to offer, a HIPAA compliance platform, with GDPR compliance, ISO 27001. It's all the things that, a CRO wants to know.
Yes.
So, so that's really important. And like I mentioned earlier, the volume of data that's created in the healthcare industry that velocity at which it's being created is just absolutely phenomenal. And, just coming back to CRM, it's incredible the way that, those data points are used by CRM to basically provide insights into patients' habits and patterns so that the healthcare organizations can get to know their patients, like you alluded to earlier, and create unique strategies to engage with each patient. And that is such when I say each patient, I mean on a one-on-one basis. The days of talking about a segment, like women between this age, it's those days we've moved on from those days. Yeah. And, I was reading I think it was the Global Health Science Journal, and, there was a peer-reviewed article that they had published, and it really just re-emphasized that customer loyalty is paramount to success. And in healthcare, that personalized outreach that you were talking about keeps your brand top of mind. And again, you also spoke about a 60-year lifespan. I mean, in any business, we talk about customer lifetime value. So would it not then make sense in healthcare? It's also a business, right? That whenever a customer becomes ill or one of their loved ones is sick, that you want them to know your healthcare facility as a trusted partner for their entire lifespan. So that being said, I think that gives just a little bit more context of where CRM should fit into the infrastructure of an organization. And you've alluded to it earlier. It's all patient focused. There's patient outcomes. So Karen, how do we create a system where the patient is at the core, or, some would call it a patient-centric system? And eventually, how can healthcare organizations improve, these healthcare outcomes using intelligence? I mean, what's your take on that?
Oh, another fantastic question, Chanel. Truly fantastic. And I guess this is where my background in the hospitality industry, I bring a lot of that to how I'm going to answer. In my opinion, a patient-centric system is the secret sauce to making businesses successful. Don't tell anybody. And it's even more. Now, it sounds, it sounds like, but you would be surprised.
It is the key.
You would be, that is the secret sauce. And the reality is, now in these challenging economic times that many of our economies find ourselves, it's even more important in the industry of healthcare than ever before. And with the help of technology, we must re-engineer, rethink how we attract, retain, and engage with our customers. It cannot be just when they show up at the facility and they're not feeling well, and then you herd them through like cattle, you ignore them, you treat them as if they're just a number. We in healthcare, we have to move away from that. And that there is the challenge. To do that, we must have systems in place that capture all pertinent data that relate to those customers. And this is the key, and it's not easy, and I don't want to sit here and make it seem as if I have all the answers, but the formula we know works, but it is hard work. We must have pertinent data on our clients and follow through when the data informs us of potential issues or non-issues on the horizon. And the reason I say or non-issues is because sometimes you'll have a patient, let's say if they were morbidly obese and it was affecting their entire health along the way. And with the help of the healthcare facility, they help them to get down to quote unquote normal weight for their height and size, etc. When that patient is now better and is no longer having to come for reviews, etc., being able to also, with the help of a robust CRM system, reach out to them and say, congrats, you've hit your milestone. Let us know if there's anything else. Just that constant engagement. Those are the things that I feel will engender not only existing patients or clients to us, but the people they tell about the service they're receiving. And why should healthcare be any different in terms of patient-centered systems than that of other industries, the hospitality, the retail industries? Why? We should look at the patient with the same importance, to be able to take all those data points and make it so that that patient is in the, if you will, the limelight, and feel like they are the only ones that matter to us. And only technology can help us with that. So let me give you another example that I feel will further highlight this point. And believe me, I could talk about this for hours, but I'm going to just give you a simple example. Imagine being able to say to a customer, 7 years ago, you had pain in your lower back, and then we shared with you, we helped you get rid of that. However, we are seeing from our research and data that at your age and demographic, the problem could start to present itself again. Why not pop in and have a quick checkup? Let's take a look and see if we can prevent that from happening. Just imagine how, not all, but most customers would feel. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Oh but hey, it won't hurt for me to just go back in and get a check to see if whatever was prescribed, whatever, if it's getting to the point where, or there's new technology or something. And that makes the patient feel like, whoa, my healthcare facility is only worrying about me. They won't even bother to think that, 10,000 other people got that same message. But it makes them feel like this healthcare facility believes and is interested in my well-being. So for me, having everything we do in a facility answer the question, how does this affect our clients and why are we doing this? Does the why have anything to making the customer experience better? If that is part of the equation, And as a company, as we move towards that and other healthcare facilities, I guarantee you our loyalty from our customers will be boundless. But like I said, it takes a lot of work.
Absolutely. You're getting me excited now, because I mean that's where the value starts coming out. And I think
Exactly.
in that message that you've just shared, Karen, I think one of the key things in healthcare is to remember that when you are adopting a CRM solution, is that you cannot look at the physical experience and the digital experience in isolation. You need to make sure that the CRM software that you adopt can enable you to connect those two. And that's what you're talking about. Once I leave that facility, there's no more communication. And that's going to be the difference between the forerunners and the guys that fall behind, I guess. Yes. So, I mean, on that note, I mean, I've just come back from Nairobi, and I was quite blown away and impressed, really, is that internet connectivity was just everywhere, right? So internet connectivity is rising, and while many consumers have adopted digital health services for reasons like affordability, logistics, convenience, whatever it may be, but beyond them being concerned about data security, a lot of patients still worry about or feel like the quality of, they don't want to be misdiagnosed. And so they want confidence they're getting the best and the right treatment. And, I also have a deep interest in data coming from that background. And spend a lot of time researching AI solutions, etc. But one of the pieces of information that I came across, recently, just reading up on some of the conclusions drawn out of some of these AI models, is that poor follow-up and distribution of crucial, or let's say significantly abnormal test results is one of the top contributors to unsafe care. And so communicating critical values for patient management and treatment is really, really important in healthcare. And so again, when it comes to your CRM, I mean, you mentioned it when we first started our chat today, that collaboration between teams is really important. And so the systems and processes within your CRM, should ensure that erroneous results and delays in communicating, or results even given to the wrong physician, are avoided. So, and I'm sure you've come across this being in healthcare now for 6+ years. In your opinion, how would you describe the importance of having an effective communication system?
I tell you, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say it's about a 25. That's how important it is. Yes, patients are always worried about misdiagnosis. Even the ones who heavily rely on Dr. Google. They come in, they Google, they say, I think I have da 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 da. And the reality is, an effective communication system coupled with an experienced doctor, but buttressed with results of lab tests, are the best way to ensure accurate diagnosis. And in Rabito's case, having the luxury of having 24 clinics with equal number of prescribers to consult in special or unusual cases further enhances the accuracy of the diagnosis. However, with all that being said, the communication to the patient has to be paramount. It has to, and the reason I say this, because you can say all the right things, but they may only have heard the first 2 words, and the rest is lost. And I've had this feedback from so many friends and acquaintances, and even patients. And having a system which can help you communicate to the patient is helpful to an extent, but it's not the end of the story. Because like in Ghana, many people, English is not their first language, okay? And secondly, even if they understand or speak English, comprehension of technical terms, for instance, are sometimes a challenge. And then if you are delivering what they perceive to be bad news, then they go into a meltdown and they can't take anything. So that's why I say on a scale of 1 to 10, communication is off the charts. It is probably the most essential part of the diagnosis and treatment, because you have to be sure that the patient or their caregivers or both really understand what is being communicated. But the beginning of that process is a robust CRM system. And that's the beginning, but it's not always the end, but it's an integral part of it. I hope.
Yeah, and I think no, that's great, and I think a lot of people think that, let me call it, CRM and automation mean no people, and it's not about that at all. It's about bringing the people in at the right time and using those resources effectively. And I think on that note, one of the other trends that we're seeing, and I'm seeing a lot of this on the ground here in South Africa, being based here, is that population healthcare is a growing population, health initiatives are a growing trend. And CRMs are a tool that help healthcare organizations, basically execute on these population healthcare initiatives. And they're using CRM to educate, chronically ill patients on ways to improve their health. I mean, you mentioned the obese guy earlier on, and it sounds like counterintuitive, but essentially, I mean, these initiatives are helping hospitals reduce their ER readmission incidents. And because they're saying, well, we penalized when chronically ill patients return to our ER within a certain time of an inpatient stay. So, you would think that you want, the patients to keep coming in, but no, that's not the case in healthcare. So, yeah, like I said, population health initiatives, I think, are definitely on the rise. But I mean, have you guys implemented anything, or how do you think CRM can help healthcare providers, improve population health health initiatives?
Well, in the example I gave earlier, using the school children going to just before school, making sure that they get their immunization shots. That's just one example, but that can help with the outcomes in a community. Because imagine a school with 500 students. All you need is 1 or 2 to come down, and not only is the whole school can get affected, but imagine the lost productivity of their parents who have to now stay home and look after them. But I'll go one step further to give you another example of how a CRM system can really, really affect community health outcomes. In Ghana, one of our silent killers is hypertension or high blood pressure. And it's silent because many, many times the individual who is suffering from that has no idea. And suddenly they collapse. It could be behind a wheel in traffic. It could be in the middle of a manufacturing job or something that could critically, potentially damage hundreds or thousands of people, even just from one person. And we at Rabito have actually had an incident reported to us where an individual took advantage of a free health screening that we were having. He was about 35. He had 3 children, married, sole provider for his family. And because he happened to be walking by as Rabito was offering that free service, he said, I feel fine, but let me just, I'm here. And he said, and this was him telling me a few weeks later, somebody I never even knew. He said after they took his vitals twice, they immediately called a car and sent him with a nurse immediately to a hospital. They didn't even explain. He just said the urgency was just incredible. When he reached to the hospital, the way they immediately ushered him in and everything, he remained in the hospital for 3 days. 3 days. And it was at the end of those 3 days that he learned that he surely would have died that weekend if he had not received health care. And he said, and so when he saw me in my uniform, his opening refrain, because he didn't know me from Adam, Rabito saved my life. Now, wow. Imagine if we had a CRM system that we could send out regular messages to our client base and say, give them information on this silent killer and letting them know that there will be no signs. In the most cases, you have a stroke. And recently in our own organization, we had a young lady. That's another thing. Women don't realize that they can also have hypertension. A young lady under the age of 40, in fact, she's in her early 30s, she had a stroke. That was as a result of her having high blood pressure and not knowing it. So you see,
that's a great example.
Yes, having data, having the ability with the help of technology to connect to I call it our constituency, to connect to our constituency, to be able to give health information can have a definite positive impact on that constituency. So that's
thanks,
how
Karen.
I see
sure,
it.
That's it always leaves a mark, when you actually realize this can happen to you. Yeah. But I want to just make sure that I'm just checking the time, and I want to make sure we leave the audience with some time. So I'm sure they want to ask you some questions. But before I do that, just to conclude from my side, is that I think, and also to summarize what we've spoken about, is that when choosing a CRM, especially in healthcare, I think one of the primary concerns, like Karen said earlier, is making sure that your data is secure. Making sure that it's governed in the right way so that the right people get to the right access. It's not open for all, right? And making sure that you do what you can to keep the data as accurate as possible so that you can do these initiatives. And when you're using a CRM, and I'll say, I proudly represent Lead Squared, like Lead Squared, and you've got the marketing automation module, within the same platform. Your patients and your customers are going to keep their data updated with you, right? I think when it comes back to business, in terms of, if you're in a digital transformation team, you're a CEO, CRO, is that you must make it clear to the rest of the stakeholders in business that you're not just creating another electronic health record. That's not what you're doing.
Absolutely.
But instead, you are using all these data points, okay? EHR is just one source to improve patient outcomes, to become a patient outcome-based healthcare organization. And lastly, it's a long-term play, like Karen has said, and you will have to continue monitoring and analyzing the effectiveness of your CRM. It's going to be a process of continuous iteration and finding new ways to leverage your software solution. And you're going to have to measure these outcomes and course correct. And as your population's requirements change, this will impact it too. And one of my favorite quotes, that I always love to leave people with is by James Clear. And this, I've seen it over and over again, but just to leave you with one last thought from me is that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And it's just something that I just found quite profound. So
that is.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah.
That definitely is. Wow.
So Karen, if you're okay with it, I'm going to hand the mic back to Shabani,
sure,
unless you've got
absolutely.
anything in closing to say. But I'm sure the audience would love to ask you some questions.
Okay, great. I'm ready to take questions. Hopefully I can answer them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for a great discussion. We've just had so much to learn in this 45 minutes. So I'll go straight to the questions. So this question is from Ongo Potse. Please forgive me if I've mispronounced your name. So she says, how do you think through cross-country compliance for entities that are looking to expand and scale across various health systems with differing regulatory requirements?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? How do
you think through cross-country compliance for entities that are looking to expand and scale across various health systems with differing regulatory requirements?
Okay. Oh, wow. Have a good, the first thing I'll say is have a good legal department. Definitely. But the way we think through it is we engage people in the jurisdictions we wish to move to. And then with their knowledge or their ability to connect us to an entity that can answer our questions, and it's usually legal or a consultant, then we look at all the pros and cons, and before we move into that jurisdiction. And that's an interesting question, because I presume the person probably knows that Rabito has a parent company that actually has sister brands in Kenya, Egypt, and Nigeria, as well as Ghana. So in our case, for instance, if Rabito was looking to expand in those jurisdictions, those health facilities would be our first port of call for us to get the lowdown on the regulatory hurdles we have to jump through and who we should speak to, because it's a people thing, getting to know who can guide us through the process. So I hope that answers the question.
No, it's a great question. And Karen, well, just to add on to Karen's answers, that to support that is when you are, you're not going to have a CRM solution in one country and not another, right? So you also need to make sure that your CRM solution that you are adopting is able to be localized at a country level, because the way you communicate to different people is also vitally important. So, we have to make sure that happens when we are, supporting clients with that. So I hope that answers your question.
That's a great point.
I have another question coming up, and I'll put that up on screen. So a lot has been said about patient-centric experiences being crucial, but in the field of building marketplace type health tech enterprises, how do you solve for provider-centric experiences to incentivize them to buy into a new way of working?
Whoa, this
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Give that person a gold star. Wow. The short answer is we have to just keep working at it. The reality is, there is no silver bullet that will fix that, and a lot of times you get headwinds from the very people you don't experience it from. But my experience is, you take each issue as it comes. You try to have somebody to represent the client, the patient in every situation. And then, if you are fortunate enough to have a CRM system that can be with you along that journey, you should be able to rely heavily on that to help with communication, retweaking, revisiting, analyzing, and then moving forward. But there is no silver bullet. And a lot of this experience that I'm just talking about has taken me back to my days in investment banking, when a lot of these CRM techniques and software came out, and our clientele was old money, and they were used to a different way of doing business. And now we and this, even the elder staff were like, hey, what's going on? But over time, they saw the benefits. So there's no silver bullet, from my perspective. But we have to keep that patient in the center of our world so that we don't lose focus.
Yeah, when it comes to your internal stakeholders, adopting, let's just call it your CRM, or a new process or way of doing things. I mean, it comes down to some form of change management, right? And you have to make sure that you involve those stakeholders at a user level, into the process, and drive the right behavior. It takes time investment from your technology partner, but all the heads of the various stakeholder divisions as well. It's not an impossible task, but if you position it as extra homework for somebody to do, just like in the world of sales, they ain't going to do it. If you position it and let them see how it's benefiting the patients, and how it's taking away unnecessary administrative tasks for them, that will change their mind for them. But I think the positive thing is that a large percentage of executives or decision leaders in healthcare recognize and have accepted that digital transformation is here to stay. It's not going away.
Exactly.
But it's now the journey of bringing the soldiers with you on that journey. And that's why we come in. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Chantel, if I could just go a little further and say that the early adopters in the healthcare space, they will benefit from that. I saw it in the investment industry. I've seen it in the retail industry. So getting on board before the crowd is the way to go.
Yeah. Shivani, have we got any more questions?
No more questions now. So the person who asked the questions is actually building a health tech startup. That is why they were so specific. Yeah.
It's a great question.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
I think just to maybe in closing, I just wanted to say, Karen was talking about early adopters. Karen, I'm not sure if you read the Becker's Hospital Review, but there's one healthcare provider. They don't call out the healthcare provider's name. But what I found quite amazing in terms of, because you always get this question, well, what's my return on investment going to be? Well, it's also kind of like a how long is a piece of string kind of answer. But in this particular case is this particular healthcare organization has already made nearly $16.9 million return on their initial investment of $5 million, which I thought was, and I think it's it's from 2019. So I forget we're in 2023 now. So quite incredible. Yeah. Yes. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing, Karen?
Yes, actually. I would first like to thank your organization for inviting me to be on this platform, because it has allowed me the opportunity to share something that I'm very passionate about, and to also actually learn more from yourselves as to how a CRM system can really benefit our organization. But more importantly than that, it has also helped me crystallize and verbalize the importance of really focusing on the customer and using technology to do that. And for that, I'm very grateful, Chantel and Shabini. I'm very grateful, because sometimes, these thoughts that are in my head, when I actually speak of them in small circles, people look at me like, ooh, she's a little loony. But, you know, healthcare is, it's time we take our place amongst other industries and use technology to get to engender better healthcare outcomes, as well as to make our ability to serve our customers, both internal and externally, in a much more efficient manner. And for that, I am
Yes.
so grateful to have had this platform.
It's our pleasure, Karen. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed our chat. Shabani, thank you for putting this together.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Chantel. Thank you so much, Karen. What a wonderful discussion we've had. And anyone who wants to see it again, we will be sharing a recording and summarizing the conversations that we've had this evening. So thank you so much again for your time.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Thank you.
and we'll
All
speak
right.
soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye to
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.